Hello, and welcome to this video introduction to designing strategies with Qcaid. In this video, we will show you how to create our first strategy with Qcaid's strategy editor. The strategy editor is the first window that appears once Qcaid is started and we log in. The strategy editor is the first window that appears when we open Qcaid and log in. In the top left corner, we can find the project view, where all the strategies we have created are organized in a tree structure. As we have just begun, it is empty, so let's start by creating a project. In the upper menu, press the New Project button and give the project a name. Once you click Finish, the new project will appear on the tree. When we select the project, the Create New Strategy button will become enabled. As you can see, all buttons have tooltips for easy identification. Now we press the button to create a new strategy and give it a name. Once it is ready, a blank canvas will open for the new strategy in the editing area. A blank canvas will open for the new strategy in the editing area. This is where we will design and create our strategy. All the elements to create this strategy are available on the palette on the right. Editing modes are placed at the top of the palette: Selection mode and Connection mode. The mouse pointer changes when Connection mode is selected. Let's see how to use them to add and connect elements. To add an element, click on it and drag it to the canvas. It is useful to start your strategy by adding as many instrument items as you need. For this first example, however, we will keep it simple and use a single instrument. To remove items, select them and click the Delete key. Next, we select the data frequency that we want to use. As we did for the instrument, we select the candle subscription item and drag it to the canvas. This element gives us for each candle the open, high, low, close and volume values. This element has an input that has to be connected to the instrument from which we will be getting the data. Clicking on the input switches automatically to connection mode, as you can tell thanks to the mouse pointer. Next, we move over to the instrument and click on its output. A line appears indicating the connection has been created. To modify the properties of an element, we need to return to selection mode. We can select this at the top of the palette or by pressing the Escape key. We can directly modify the properties of any element by double-clicking on them. In this example, we set the time frame of the candle subscription to 12 minutes. Now that we know how to add, connect and modify items, let's see how to complete our first strategy. As an example, we will use a simple strategy based on the RSI indicator. A market order is sent if the following rules are met. If the RSI is less than an oversold threshold and we have no position, we commit a buy order to market. The closing condition is fulfilled when the RSI exceeds an overbought threshold. Therefore, we need the RSI indicator. We will find it within the oscillator indicator folder. The data used to calculate the RSI must be connected to its input, in this case, the close output of the candle subscription. Press Escape to return to edit mode. The next item we'll need is the oversold threshold to compare with the RSI. We'll insert the threshold as a static decimal value. Again, by double-clicking, we can set the desired value. A new element is needed in order to detect the moment when the RSI signal becomes smaller than the oversold threshold. For these situations, we use the downward crossover element, which can be found in the binary operators group. This element will send a signal when the left side input, RSI in this case, becomes lesser than the right side input, which in this case is the oversold threshold. Now we have our entry condition, but the strategy must ensure that it is not already in the market before sending the new order. To do that, we use the position information element from the position folder in the palette. Its first output tells us whether we have a long position on the instrument. As we want to fulfill the condition of not having a long position, we will use the logical element not. Now we have our two conditions. Since we want the strategy to issue an order when the RSI condition is met and we have no position, we use the AND element to connect them. This element supports the comparison of multiple entries and will output a positive signal when all input conditions are met. We connect the two rules, and now we have the signal for issuing the order. We just need to incorporate the order element, in this case a market order. Order elements are also in the position folder. We select the market order element and see that it has two inputs. The signal input is the first one. Connect the signal input to the order condition we created before. The other input allows you to set the quantity of contracts to trade. In this case, we use a static value that for quantity values must be an integer. We edit it by double-clicking and inserting the value. In new videos, we'll see examples of how to create logic to set the amount dynamically. Now we have the enter logic. The output condition is created in a similar way. First, we enter a new static element to set the overbought threshold. And we enter its value. Since we want to detect when the RSI is greater than the threshold, we will use the greater than comparator. Find the greater than comparator in the binary operators folder. Place the element so that we receive a signal when the RSI is greater than the overbought threshold. We can use the RSI element we already have in our design and connect its output to the left input of the comparator and the right input to the threshold value. To close the position, we'll use a specific element for closing positions. This feature automatically monitors the size of the position and its orientation, whether it be a long position or a short position. When it is activated, it issues a market order of the necessary size and opposite orientation in order to close the position. If there is no open position, this element does nothing. Thus, we have completed our first strategy. The next step is to perform a backtest to know how it would have behaved in a past scenario. If there is no open position, the element does nothing. With this, we have completed our first strategy. The next step is to perform a backtest to know how it would have performed in the past. I'll show you how to do this in our next video. Until then, thank you for watching.